think about a world where you go on your app, you say I need my whatever, and a drone delivers it to you. That world is here. Uh, Wing is already operating actual delivery services in 3 continents.
Welcome to Rise and Stride, where we empower you to take your next step in an ever-changing business landscape. Here's your host, Denise Leduc Freeman, President and CEO of the California Society of CPAs.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Rise and Stride. With me today, I am grateful to have attorney and CPA Shannon Nash, CFO of Wing, an on-demand drone delivery service operated by Google-owned Alphabet. Prior to joining Wing, Shannon had been Chief Accounting Officer, then CFO of Reputation, an online reputation management and customer experience management company. Her 20-plus year career has included legal and executive positions with various companies, including Cumulus Media, Inside Source, and Amgen. Shannon, you have had an amazing and exciting career, and the future is bright with your new role. So congratulations. And I'm so looking forward to talking to you today. So thank you for joining us. I know you're a really busy lady, and we just appreciate the time that you've taken to be here with us. And I just look forward to you sharing your insights with us.
Thanks for having me. I always enjoy my time with CalCPA. I volunteer with CalCPA. In fact, today I was interviewing somebody for a job. This person's a CPA, but they're inactive, and I said, regardless of what happens in this interview, please look me up on LinkedIn because I need to get you involved in CalCPA. So there you go.
Thank you. We appreciate that. You're a cheerleader out there for us. Really appreciate that, and appreciate all your support that you provide to CalCPA. We couldn't do what we do without great volunteers like you. So thank you. So maybe we'll just jump in and, just tell us a little bit about Wing, what led you to the company, and then whether we're going to see more drones flying in the sky.
Well, the future of drones is here, but it's interesting. I shared when I first took the role at Wing, I even shared this on my LinkedIn, and I have a picture of myself, very dated, so we won't say how many years ago it was, but it was a while. And it's me looking up in the sky and just dreaming. And it really was, one of my favorite cartoons as a kid was the Jetsons. I really
love
dreamed, didn't you? I dreamed of a world where like the Jetsons was real. And let's think about the Jetsons. You had Rosie, who was a robotic maid. You had holograms. You had smart watches. You had 3D printing in that cartoon, all of which are like normal to us. Like the robotic maid is the Roomba, for example. Like it's here. And you actually had a flying drone with the young kid's name in the show was Elroy. And so,
yes.
Yeah, remember that? So to me, all of that just was like, oh, what amazing it would be to live in a world where all those things were true. And then somehow, some way, a million years later, I find myself with an opportunity to actually work with a company that's doing the things that I dreamed about wanting to be true. And one of those things was drones. And so Wing is a drone delivery company. And, again, think about a world where you go on your app, you say, I need my whatever, and a drone delivers it to you. That world is here. Wing is already operating actual delivery services in 3 continents, in Europe, which is in Finland. Also, we are in Australia and in the US. We are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and in Christiansburg, Virginia, which is basically around where Virginia Tech is, very close. And so, to date, we've completed over 200,000 commercial drone deliveries. And we're growing, growing. And it's not just about the convenience of you or I. I mean, that is obviously something that happens. Think about how many cars get taken off the road and what that means for our
Mhm.
environment. And I've got a stat for you. That's what CFOs do, right? We always have stats.
I love that.
So
I'm
at
gonna write it
scale,
down.
don't you? You gonna write the stat down? All
I
right.
am,
So
yes.
so Virginia Tech looked at the potential benefits of drone delivery at scale in an average US metro area and found that once deployed, drones could reduce each year the vehicle miles driven by nearly 300 million miles. And think about that. That's equivalent to taking over 25,000 cars off the road, helping to avoid, car crashes by over 550 of them, and cutting up to 114,000 tons of CO2, which is equivalent to planting 46,000 acres of new forests. So the
Wow.
value prop is there, and it's just exciting to have my little piece of being a part of this industry.
That's a staggering statistic. That is
Yeah.
compelling. It really is. And I would tell you too, that our audience to go look on the Wing site and look at the video that's on there. That video is so compelling, and it's making problem. I mean, it's just, there's problems that people have on there, issues, and it just has a solution, and they're making dreams come true. So that's the best video. I watched it twice. So it's great.
Oh, good.
Great.
Thank you.
So with that, with your amazing career, and your journey, which was a little different because you kind of zigzagged, and I always say everyone zigzags if they're
Yeah.
successful. It's never a straight shot. So it included CPA firms, law firms, media companies, just to name a few. So how has your knowledge and your skills of being a CPA, how has that helped you on that career journey?
Yeah, and I have college age kids now, and I tell them one of the things, I mean, I lucked into accounting and being a CPA. And when I say lucked into it, I fortunately, a lot of people have just role models and people you see. I first had a teacher that was an accountant and CPA that saw something in me. I then had a summer job with a bookkeeper who saw something in me. Um, and basically, they both, what they showed me was that with this type of background, you can decide what you want to do. And that was super important to me because I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew that pretty much every business has some type of financial person, and I didn't know what to call it. I didn't At the time, I didn't know what a CFO was versus a controller versus an accountant versus an auditor. I certainly didn't have that level of sophistication. I just knew that businesses make money and that there's people who work with money. Usually they have a background in like accounting or finance or economics, and those people are always, at the time it was about, I'll always be employed. Like I'll always be able to have a job. And so that was kind of how I jumped into it. And then interestingly enough, the more you start meeting people and getting that first job and then seeing how businesses work, it really is one of those professions where, accountants are everywhere in
Mhm.
every industry doing all kinds of lines of work. You have former accountants who are CEOs, you have accountants who are doing, are people who major in accounting and now, run businesses, just people who decided that they wanted to be auditors, all over the gamut. You will always have an option if you have this as a background. And so I did go to law school, and at the time, going to law school, I wasn't really sure what type of law I would practice in. Again, you meet mentors and people were saying, oh, you have an accounting background, you're a CPA, you can do. And there was a list of all these different types of things I could do as an attorney, and that I'd never really thought about, again. So it was one of those things where, having that accounting background allowed me to be as flexible as I wanted to be in my career journey, to the point where I did practice law. But when I practiced law, I was drawn to tax, to, M&A, to finance. And what was super helpful is, like, I'm working on some of these let's say I'm working on a deal, an M&A deal, but I'm really like the person that's on the deal that is like looking at the financials and really helping like the client and my team understand what the financials are saying, for example. So that background was so super helpful. I never thought that it would take me to be a CFO because that wasn't my dream at the time. But when I look back on all of my experiences, um, you know, it was one of those things where having that background made me really competitive and attractive for a lot of the jobs that and the positions and the opportunities that I tried to get. And then certainly the more senior I have gotten in my career, and now that I'm serving on a public company board, I'm super ecstatic that I started with an accounting background. But again, at the time, go back to 1992, I would have never dreamed that 2022, this is what I'd be doing.
Mhm. I know you can't imagine it. You just can't. And I know we always say too, when you have your CPA, your opportunities are limitless. You can do whatever you want to do. And for me, I started too with my CPA. It just allowed me to understand all the different business components of not-for-profits because I came up through that side. And I just, people started to reach out to me and say, can you help me do this? Or can you think of this? So I too, it just zigzagged me into a different direction. I never thought I would be in California with the California side of CPAs. It was the farthest thing from my mind. I'm so happy and excited, but you're right. You just can't imagine it. You can't. So, and you've just, you've done so many amazing things. So I'm going to brag on you a bit more because there's so much. So it's really easy, Shannon, to do that. You've been recognized as one of the top 100 most influential people in accounting. You've named one of the most powerful women in accounting by AICPA and the CPA Practice Advisor. And you received the 2021 Trailblazer Award from CalCPA. So congratulations on all of that.
Okay.
Just take us through maybe now that you've become the leader that you are, how did you set goals? How important was that within this journey for you? And, what place did mentors kind of play in the whole journey?
Yeah. Yeah. I always say this often when I speak. No one in the C-suite made it to the C-suite alone. If they told you they did, they're lying. Even people who were like, well, it's a family business. Well, their family helped them get there, right? Like nobody just wakes up and as a 2-year-old and they're like, and I'm in the C-suite by myself. So if it weren't for, I believe strongly in these people were more than mentors to me. They were supporters. Like they were completely vested in what happened in my career. And if it weren't for them, I would be in a different place because what they not only showed me is in terms of wanting to help me in my career, they modeled for me what success looks like. And they modeled for me, the things that I wanted to bring in my own leadership style. So one of them is a man by the name of Larry Bailey. He was one of the first African-American tax partners at a major, and I think at the time it was either Big 10 or Big 8, because this was in the 70s, so it's probably Big 10 firms. And just what he did, being the first, how he built his practice, how he became really a thought leader and a role model to so many people. And then and the way and just to be clear, I had never worked for him. I've never worked at any company for him at all. And people seem to think that mentors have to be people that you work for. They don't. This is not a person I worked for. He was somebody that I met through, like an organization, basically a professional organization, and just decided he wanted to help me do well. So, he had me go meet some people in terms of like just career advice. And then it got to the point where, and then my husband met him, and my husband, Larry's also was on the board of Wharton, and my husband wanted to go there. So he gave him advice. And so now he's like the couple's mentor, if you will. And it's to the point where to this day, as long as I've known him, because that relationship started back in the mid 90s. And now it's 2022. And before I took this job at this level, I still call him on the phone and say, hey, this is what's going on. He's retired. Like, what do you think? And he, again, has just been super instrumental in my career. And then another is, I think, it's interesting because people don't necessarily think about her as a um, CEO, but I luckily got to see that side of her. Her name is Debbie Allen, and she is award-winning dancer, choreographer, director, producer,
Yeah.
um, all the things the public knows. But I got to work with her in her organization, and she taught me how to be confident. She taught me the soft skills. She taught me how to be comfortable with public speaking, with summarizing. You don't come to Debbie and give her like a whole bunch of spreadsheets. You come to Debbie, and you tell her what she needs to know, and you come to her with and this is how I'm going to solve this and move this problem out of the way. And she really built that muscle in me in a way that I didn't think I need, because at the time of my life, I had only been at big companies, like big, Fortune 100 corporations. And I did a pivot in my career and went to work for a really small organization that was going to be more friendly for my then very young family, of which, I had a newborn, and I had a child that was roughly about, I think he was about 7 or 6 years old, and he's autistic and needed a lot of therapies. And so she was an employer that was flexible. But
Yeah.
I thought I was doing it because of the flexibility, because I didn't have that in my big corporate job. But what I got out of it was a confidence and an ability to see somebody who can literally move, thousands of people as a leader. That's what I got out of it. And I don't
Mhm.
even know to this day if she realizes how much of, like, as like her as a businesswoman, which is not the accolades. If you go on the internet right now and search her, they're not going to say that. I don't know if she realizes now how much she taught me about business.
Hmm. That's compelling. And with everything you said, it's, you were intentional about what you did. You really listened. And I know that there's an ask in there always, because when you have a mentor, you have to ask, right, that person
Yeah.
to mentor you. And it's the outreach. So what I really appreciated about you when you were at the women's, so many things, but when you were at the Women's Leadership Forum, you said to everyone, get out your phone and link in to 4 to 5 people today that you don't know. So I know you're very intentional. And with that, what would you tell the audience, like the 2 things they could do today to really make a difference to get to the level they want to get to, whether it be the C-suite, whether it be a partner in a firm, whatever that,
Yeah.
a CEO of their own business, advice that you have for them?
Yeah, and so that one of the things you said, I'll give you two others, but I completely agree. It is, first of all, expand your network, expand it, and it's really not hard nowadays. I mean, we used to have Rolodex with the little spin thing, and you had to write notes on the card about who
Yeah.
said what. You don't have to do that anymore. You have LinkedIn, and there's other places, right, that you can do this, but LinkedIn's a good one. And so I am a big proponent of that. And what I try to do is I meet people, and then I go on, there's several times a week where I'll go on to LinkedIn, and on purpose, I say, I'm going to comment on 5 stories. I'm just going to comment, like, whatever it is. And people remember that. And it comes back to you later in ways that you never even knew were going to come back to you. So I'm a big proponent of that. So, but I'll give you some other stuff. One of the things I talk about is everybody needs to develop their own personal board of directors. And it is kind of like a mentor, but it's more than that. So when you think about a board of directors, people have different skill sets. Everybody should have that for them. They should have, people that they go to who can help them think through, is this the right job or opportunity for them? They should have people on their board who can help them think through. I just had this conflict, if you will, with my coworker, almost like a coach. Help me think through how I can communicate better. Like, you need to have those people on your personal board. Everyone should have a colleague where you can bounce like technical stuff uh, around with, and not feel intimidated because you didn't know. You have to feel safe with that person. So over the years, I've just amassed these people, and they're my personal board, and it has made all the difference, again, because you don't get to the C suite yourself. I still use this personal board all the time. um be intentional about getting those people in your life, and then give something in return. I end a lot of these phone calls with, I ask whatever I need to, and I'm like, however I can be helpful, let me know. Just offer it up. Half of the battle is just letting people know that you were genuine, and that
Mhm.
if it's within your power, you will actually reciprocate the favor. And that has, again, gone spades. And so, from people asking me to just get an introduction to people saying, can you just review my board bio? Like, I always reciprocate that it's a give and take relationship. And I will tell you that at this stage of my career, it's becoming super rewarding, because I'm seeing people now that I have helped, go to different positions. And that's like really, at this age, that's really fun for me to be like, I helped these 5 people and now they're all CFOs themselves. That's amazing.
That is, I think it gives, to me, it gives me more back than it probably gives to them. I
Yes.
I love to see it. And, it's funny because I have that personal board too. I have it written down. I took a picture of it in my phone, and it's because that's who I am. Maybe it's a CPA in me, weird, but I mean,
Right.
that's who I have too. And I reach out for different questions I have. And
Right.
yeah, it's really helpful, really is. So maybe we can just shift gears a bit and talk a little bit about DE&I. And
Okay.
we all would say that that's an important topic, and it's just not a topic to me. It's a way of life, and it's a way
Yeah.
of living and
Yeah.
interacting. And just, there's so much to that, for all leaders in my mind. And, we appreciate you stepping in. You're on our D&I commission, and just, we really appreciate that. And everyone that's on there, because it's a really good group of people. But what are your thoughts on how a firm or a company can best build a diverse culture? And what are some barriers that you see to the success of doing so?
I really applaud. So Kathy Johnson leads our commission, and she's amazing. And I really applaud all the work that she's doing. One of the things she says a lot, and I wholeheartedly agree with, is that we're not going to quote unquote solve the DEI problem in a day, because it didn't become a problem in a day. So we are talking. This is not a race. This is a marathon. This is lots of systemic changes that have to be made, and they're not going to happen overnight. So that's just got to be like said just as groundwork. In my field, I'll talk about, I'm in business and industry, so I'll talk about like where I have most of my experience. It starts at the top. The board, the C-suite have to be completely bought in, and not only just talk the talk, but walk the walk about DE&I. If they do not, it is more to me like an HR exercise to check a box, because it doesn't change how you operate, and it's not seen as a competitive advantage in your business and your company. So it's critical that you have these leaders who are not only bought into D&I being the right thing to do, understanding that the business case for D&I is also the better financial thing to do. And certainly don't have to take my word for it. There's been a million studies on it from like these unknown companies like McKinsey and Company, basically, and lots of others that have already made the financial business case
Right.
for diversity. So the good news I will say to you is I'm at this point in my career running into more and more people who already have bought into that. I would say 10 years ago, even, I think it was a harder thing to discuss with people. I'm not saying that we've arrived, but it's getting easier. So another area where I'm focusing a lot of my time and efforts and where I see kind of my legacy is really getting diversity on corporate boards, because again, it really starts at the top. And so I'm very active in an organization called Black Women on Boards, and another organization called How Women Lead, and really spending a lot of time mentoring and helping other women, and Black women and women of color in particular, get on public company boards. I think that we've made some significant progress, but there's a lot more progress to be made. And
Mhm.
so the other thing I'm doing is not only just working with women who are C-suite already ready. There's always this whole thing about, oh, we can't find qualified, diverse candidates. They don't exist. And so we're like, no, we have these organizations, and look, we have these rosters. They exist. They're just not in your network. So let's change that part. But the second piece of this is getting that next gen leader who's right on the precipice of getting to the C-suite and trying to help and support and mentor them, and actually exposing them to the fact that there is this opportunity to be on a board, because a big part of it, quite frankly, is being exposed to even know that it is an option, that it exists. I feel very fortunate that I knew about board service, not because I knew like exactly what it meant, but I was exposed to the fact that that was something that somebody I found to be successful did at a young age. When I was at the University of Virginia, I was in the McIntire School of Commerce as the undergrad business school, and they had this woman by the name of Ann Fudge come and speak to us about her career journey. And she, at the time, I mean, again, it's like the early 90s, she was one of a handful of African-American women who was like C-suite at a major, Fortune 100 company. And she came and spoke and talked about the next part of her career was going to be on corporate boards. I had no clue what she meant. But because she was such a role model to me, I was like, but if she's doing that, I need to figure out how to aspire to do that later in my career. So as I got into a career, I would ask more about, so what is the board like? And I would even talk to like my CFO and say, what's it like talking to your audit committee? What's all involved? I was just super inquisitive because I was exposed at an early age to the fact that that's something one can do. So I'm trying to give exposure to other people, in particular women and minorities, about, hey, there's this whole other thing, this whole other management level that you just may not even know exists. And I want you to be aware. So if you're interested, you could start thinking about what you can do for your career. And I can tell you, and I've talked about this at CalCPA, CPAs in particular are uber qualified because we are qualified financial, most of us are qualified financial experts, which is required for public companies to have people like that on their board. So we already kind of have a superpower, if you will, that is attractive to public company boards. And so again, I'm trying to, in particular, give more CPAs exposure to this as a really interesting career path.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I mean, you're absolutely right. The CPAs, that's a natural fit. And so we talk to how women lead, we talk to them a bit, but if there's anywhere you think we can plug in, we're happy to do so and provide opportunities, because it's what do we say? To see me is to be me, right? You have to be able to see those role models. You have to know it's out there. Otherwise, there's nowhere for you to go. You don't know the path forward. So really, it's cool what you're doing. I mean, it really is. And it's so impactful. Anywhere we can help, I can help. I mean, I too, I love just inspiring that next generation, because I get so much back from just helping out. So yeah, it's cool. And I know even in the accounting profession, a lot of the research we're seeing is the senior leaders, we have a real gap there. We have representation, not enough, overall in the profession, but in the senior leaders, we just do not have diversity, and we need to get there. We need to get there.
Agreed.
So I have a last question for you. This has been fun. I could talk for a long time, but you have things to do. So this is just a kind of a personal question about movies. So on top of everything you've discussed and everything you do and how you help out, you've also a Cannes Film Festival award-winning filmmaker, which is pretty awesome. Tell us about that journey.
So I think I mentioned earlier that I'd worked for Debbie Allen, and she exposed me to an industry that I didn't know anything about, media and entertainment. And so she certainly exposed me to that industry. And along the way, I realized I had tapped into the fact that there was a creative side to me, because accountants can't be creative. Like, that is not our role. But I do have a creative side, and guess what? Lots of accountants do as well. So there you go with that stereotype. And so it all kind of lined up. I kind of wanted to do something creative. And then I mentioned earlier that I had my son is autistic. And one night I was out with some friends, And my son had just a really awful day for whatever reason, whatever. And I remember I left the little dinner party and I was kind of sitting in the courtyard of this person's house by myself. And I just had broke down. Like I was just in the corner away from everybody, and just, it was a hard day and I had broke down. And this woman came out and she started, saying, "It's going to be okay, hug me." And she's like, "Well, why are you crying? Like, you seem like you have it all together. Why are you crying?" And I just said, "My son's autism and this and that." And then she was like, "Oh, that's it?" She's like, "Yeah, well, maybe you don't know, but my son's autistic too." And her son was way older, like 10 years older than mine. And again, her life looked like perfect to me, like perfect. And we were both like, "Oh my gosh, both of us are going through this and we don't even know." And then we started talking about like what was going on in the autistic community. And then we talked about how, in particular, a study had just come out to show that African American and Latino kids were getting diagnosed 6 to 7 years behind their white counterparts. And why that's important is that early intervention changes lives. I'm a firm believer that the fact that my son got early intervention at 18 months to 2 years old is how he is now not living in my house anymore, and has graduated from high school and all these things. And I'm not saying he's perfect. He has his issues, as do all kids.
As do all of us.
As do all of us. But that early intervention changed the trajectory of his life, because we were able to really get a lot of therapies for him as a younger child. And so we started talking about what could we do? How can we help the communities? And we decided we were going to make a documentary. Why not? So we did. And again, being an accountant, having a finance background meant I was uber qualified to figure out how to budget this, finance this, pay for it, make money off of it, have that money, then fund a nonprofit. All of those skill sets, being an accountant came in super handy. But yeah, we made a movie. We took it to the American Pavilion at Cannes. We won at the American Pavilion, and then we sold it to basically to Viacom BT, and they have aired it a million times. So
wow. Where do we find
and
that?
now,
where can we find it?
You know what? I think that because it's been about 7 or 8 years, I don't know if they run it on repeat anymore. But if they do, I'll send you the link to be able to post it, because it's But I'm working on another documentary.
Are you really? Can you tell us anything, or no? We'll wait.
Yes. No, I can. It's on the website. We've already shown the sizzle reel for it, and we're shooting this year, and it's for Black women on boards, and it's about diversifying boards of directors. And so it's on the Black Women on Boards website. The sizzle's on there, and hopefully by next year, we'll be showing the film.
I'm going to check it out. I love that. And you are right. CPAs can be creative. Sometimes people will say to me, "You're a CPA, like you dream." I said, "Yeah, I do." So they can be. We have a whole campaign, CPA, and because CPAs are much more than just the numbers. So that's a myth buster for sure. And just thank you, Shannon. You have given us so many tips. Be intentional, ask, get a mentor, and just the world's your oyster. You can do anything you want to do. You've definitely exemplified that with your path. And it's just been a delight, honestly, talking to you. I'm going to have you back at some point when we get this documentary done. You can come back, and if you have time, talk to us. But so grateful for you being part of our world at CalCPA, the accounting world, and my world. I'm just delighted that I had the opportunity to meet you in April, and look forward to seeing everything that you're going to do going forward.
Thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun.
Rise and Stride is produced by the California Society of Certified Public Accountants. To learn more, visit calcpa.org.